Osiris Roasts Brother Vance. Anna takes the robot dog Archie for a walk, and a ghost compares fiction written by a guardian to actual existence. Today we take a look at some stories you can only find in the lore. These ones come from this very season and Season of the Deep, so let's dive right in. Let's first start with Brother Vance. For those that don't know, Brother Vance was a character who ran the Trials of Osiris in Destiny 1 in the House of Wolves expansion. In the first game, he was voiced by composer Marty O'Donnell's father, and the character was super mysterious and puzzled many players. At that point, we didn't know who Osiris was, and Vance here spoke of him like some mystical being. Brother Vance sort of turns into an Osiris fanboy with this cult of Osiris. He helps us in our adventures back in Mercury in the Curse of Osiris expansion, and in the Arrival's lore it tells us he storms the Infinite Forest, killing dark versions of himself. In Season of the Deep's lore tab though, Saint and Osiris speak about Sloane, and when Saint asks about Vance, Osiris hits him with the who? From the targeted redaction card we see this. The neon-saturated skyline of Neomuna pops bright against the starry night sky. On a rooftop overlooking an empty, tree-lined plaza, Saint and Osiris sit in contemplative silence. They are making time for one another in the margins of their lives, pushing responsibilities aside as much as they can. "So, is she doing any better?" Osiris asks, breaking several minutes of peaceful silence. "Sloane," he clarifies. "Every day is a small progress," Saint explains, "and even small progress is something to be proud of." Osiris nods, watching the glittering lights in the distance. It's nothing short of a miracle that she survived all that time on Titan. A portion of Asher Mir also seems to have survived his dive into the Pyramidion. "Don't lose hope in the darkness," he says, joining his hands with Saint's. "Yes, perhaps there is even hope for Brother Vance," Saint offers. Osiris stares at him in prolonged silence. "Who?" Saint coughs and politely changes the topic. So, one of Osiris's biggest fans, the character devoting his whole life to researching and finding him back in the day, all the meanwhile Osiris doesn't even know who he is. Now that's most likely the reason, Osiris not really knowing Vance, not really having a connection to him, rather than just roasting him like this, but I thought it was funny anyway. We could see Vance return in a season this year, possibly alongside Asher Mir, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Moving on, in Card 3 Legacy, Anna and Archie the robot dog reminisce about Rasputin and go for a walk. We get an update on this dog as well and what it was made for. A soft simulated whimper echoes through the workshop as Archie rests his head on Anna's shoulder. They sit together in front of the harness holding up Rasputin's erstwhile exoframe, a lightless effigy of cables and steel. "I know, buddy," Anna says quietly. "I miss him too." After Rasputin's sacrifice, Anna had arranged for the exoframe to be transferred from the helm to her workspace in the tower. At the time, she told herself that keeping the frame in storage would have been a waste, that its technological advancements could prove useful to other exos in the future. Honestly though, she simply wasn't ready to let go. Nevertheless, she signed herself up for a new task, and what better way to cope with grief than by staying busy? So she had made good on her word, tinkering with the frame to reverse engineer its more convoluted components. That was until she heard that Titan, like Mars before it, had suddenly reappeared, and Sloane along with it. A warrior in need of a war, a weapon in search of a target, not unlike the Warmind. The thought kept Anna from fully burying herself in her work. For now, she wraps her arm around Archie as her thoughts drift to all the detritus left in Rasputin's wake. Rasputin had assembled an arsenal of unfathomable scale, remnants from thousands of warsats strewn across the solar system, prototype weaponry never to be completed, stratagems and simulations forever forgotten. And yet, sitting here in the shadow of his sacrifice, Anna finds that she wants to remember him by the one thing not built for war, a canine AI, created for no other purpose than companionship, one that has made a home for himself in the tower. greeting everyone he meets on his daily walks. In the end, Rasputin's legacy was not the war he waged, but the lives he sought to protect. The notion brings a smile to Anna's lips. It's what distinguished him from Xivu Arath, and Anna hopes that Sloane can realize the same holds true for her. Anna looks at the exoframe one last time before rising to her feet and pats the dog on his head. He happily wags his tail in response. "Come on, Archie," she says as she reaches for her comms unit. "Let's go for a walk." So that's great there to get an update on Archie the dog. He was added back into the tower this season. If you haven't found him, he's over by the Drifter. And then we get an update on what happened after the events of Seraph. Anna took Rasputin's frame back to the tower in her own workshop to try and reverse engineer some things. Rasputin overcame Xivu in that season of the Seraph, and now with Titan's return, she sees that Sloane could do the same. Lastly, we come to the Deep Seeker's shell, where a ghost and a guardian find another dead guardian and stories they have written. "It seems intact," a voice chirps in the dark. A ghost and their guardian sit in an idle jump ship orbiting Neptune. The swirling cerulean hemisphere dominates the cockpit's right field of view, the rest blanketed by the gulf of space, speckled with the remains of another jump ship. Should we boot it up? The Guardian holds the datapad, the battered case adorned with Vanguard designs. Their ghost peers over their shoulder at the only surviving piece of hardware they could salvage from the wreckage. That and the shards of another Guardian's ghost, respectfully arranged on the console. Whatever's in that device might be important, the ghost urges in curiosity more than anything else. The Guardian gives in and turns on the datapad. After a cursory review, they find no field reports, no mission briefings, nothing but page after page of writing, fiction, essays, poems, a huge collection of works, decades of material, all penned by the lost Guardian. This Guardian, she invented her own fictional universe. It must have meant so much to her to keep as closely as she did. A personal space to share thoughts without fear of judgment. The ghost's assessment is analytical but bordering on the emotional core of the discovery. With a soft, sad beep, the ghost looks at their guardian and sinks down to the datapad. This is a piece of who she was, personal truths. The ghost muses as if on the verge of a greater understanding. Maybe through her stories she lives on. Maybe that's the same for all of us. The guardian says nothing and begins to read. So this card is cool for a couple of reasons. First, they find this dead guardian and ghost and find the stories they've written in their journal here, decades worth of material. And the last couple of lines say maybe she lives through her stories, and that's the same for all of us. The ghost spoke of this as if on the verge of a greater understanding. Now to me, this seems like it could be hinting at the veil, the merging of all these different minds, different timelines, memories. We don't exactly know yet, but we have some clues, and Bungie has been laying this out in lore cards just like this. So there you have it, Guardians. There were some of these lore tabs that were just kind of all over the place, and I thought, why not throw them into one video and talk about some of these stories you may not have seen yet. If you'd like to see some more Destiny lore and mysteries just like this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, I thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.